Hello, I'm Richard Payne. I'm the in charge of technical development for Holden, and I'm just doing a little daily program, a sort of roundup of what we've seen at IBC, and I'm joined by Philip Johnston, otherwise known as the HD Warrior. The pair of us have been wandering around, taking in the sights and seeing what we can find. We're just going to talk about what we've seen and what we found interesting, and I hope you find some of it interesting too. So Philip.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for coming at such short notice.
Oh yes.
So you've got here first thing this morning?
We did, yes. We arrived by ferry, and basically we had to wait until some sort of technical thing. And it's always the usual. It's always something technical. It's a bit like video, you know. Nothing ever goes smoothly.
That's very true.
But once we were off the ferry, we arrived, and we got here within about half an hour. So so far so good.
Excellent. So what, did you come into the Hook of Holland?
If that's what they call it, yes, I must have.
I've always wondered what that looks like. I passed a crane on the way. I wondered if it was that.
All right, possible.
So what have you seen that's caught your fancy today?
Well, obviously, with doing some videos for Holden's, I wanted to go and have a look at the Ledgo stand.
Right.
And the company have just got some amazing lights. I mean, the one that really took me when I was doing the filming was the ring light.
Right.
I'd always wanted to use a ring light for my photography, but never had the money to sort of order. I thought, it's so what? See when you actually use one, and you see the lovely, it just looks different. But
so what is it about ring lights? I really haven't understood why a ring light is important. I mean, presumably it's a nice even light around the face, but is there anything else it gives you?
Well, yeah, it's a kind of diffusion that the shadowless. You know, it's the one major problem you've got when you're lighting for video is, you know, how much, how do you cut down a lot of the shadows in your shots? Because you're always looking for the perfect, you know. But you know, you don't want the camera light on top of your whatever camera you're using, be it a Panasonic or whatever, and suddenly you've got this one light on somebody. I mean, I had the Data Vision reporter's kit, and what a difference that makes, just having the extra. I had one of them on tungsten and the other two on daylight. Right. And just
so you've got a nice sort of sunset glow.
Yes, yes. Because I was doing a video recently about type 1 diabetes, and I just had to have that one light that was tungsten. Yeah. And half the time it wasn't even an LED light. It was an Arri 150. They call that a pepper in the older days. Right. And but as soon as you get near the thing, you know, it bites the hand off you because it's very hot. And that's the thing. That's where the old-fashioned.
I remember the days of lighting with redheads and blondes.
Yeah.
It certainly made your light sound more exciting. Yes. But yes, you could light a cigarette off them at the end of the day.
Well, that's why gaffer gloves are invented, of course.
They used to use pegs.
But and that's what I like about the LED lighting is just the fact that it just gives you. It's, you know, cold lighting. And it takes up the battery power. You've got so much more power in your batteries because it's not taking up, you know, a 650 watt redhead in my days was 650 watts. Yeah. Now if you
was like a little heater, wasn't it?
Yeah. You go to Ian they've got a new redhead which I was absolutely bowled over with, and suddenly it's LED now and it's only 80 watts.
Right.
And you can touch it. They've got the old-fashioned tungsten.
So it looks like a redhead.
Yes, exactly the same.
A retro light.
A retro redhead.
That's it, because Ledgo have sort of gone the other way. They've got they've made their lights a bit like Lego, where you can slot bits together.
Yes, that's right.
And you can get ones which look like take me back to redheads.
I mean, to be fair, the Ledgo lights I had the 600 DNX one, which I think is fairly new. Yeah. And it works a treat because I had a 19 pounds Apple app, which gives you a lighting desk for 24 lights. Right. So with an Entech, I think it's called, box coming out of your laptop, straight into light number one, you can then daisy chain it, and that's you got a full studio.
Oh, interesting. I've been learning a lot about LED lights recently because a friend of mine, a guy called Alan Roberts, has been developing a new sort of lighting profile system to replace CRI, because it seems that not all LED lights are equal. Some are a lot better than others in terms of colour.
Well, having bought into LED lights for the last 2 years, you are 100% right. If you buy over £1,000 worth, you tend to get something that's a bit more user friendly. The green spike's not as bad.
Yeah.
Whereas you start to, but saying that, the newer lights, which are under £500, are now starting to come out with less green
That's
spikes.
right. I think the new LEDGO lights have got a more modern, a new variation of the LEDs.
Yes.
So the light's a bit cleaner, a bit less spiky.
Yes.
So what else has taken your fancy?
Well, I went to, as yet I haven't been to Panasonic, but I'll do that tomorrow.
I can tell you a bit about the Panasonic.
I passed the Panasonic stand, and it looked as if they had a couple of new cameras, but you must know something about that.
Yeah, I saw them first thing this morning, and there's two that caught my eye. The 4K Varicam sort of concept model was a bit beyond my pay grade, so I looked at it and drooled slightly on the glass, but I don't think I'll ever get my hands on one of those. But the one I really liked, there's an HPX 270, which is an update of the HPX. There's some alarm going off. It's probably the Panasonic alarm's gone because I mentioned it. Perhaps I'm not meant to talk about it yet. But the HPX 270 is like a HPX 250. It's slightly more compact, but it's using the new codecs which Panasonic have developed. So their AVC Longop codec technology. So you can record full 100 megabits onto the P2 card, but there's 2 micro P2 slots as well. So you've got 3 slots in total on a small camcorder.
Yeah, I mean, see, the one bugbear I have had with Panasonic for years is, and same with Sony, I mean, none of them have been, it's just the fact that people, there's 2 people in the professional world. There's the professionals who do broadcast work and will spend the money for S by X and P2, and there's people who are just underneath, and they're doing corporates or whatever. And to be honest, you know, if you're doing corporates or say you're doing weddings, you know, things are more of you've not got the same money to spend. So
True.
I've said, please do something about P2. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
You're wasting your cameras. You're bringing out lovely cameras, but people aren't buying them.
And micro P2 is about half the price of P2. But more importantly, with a new camera, you'll get a 50 megabit codec. You can also shoot at 25 megabits, and it's 25 megabit 10-bit 422. Absolutely fantastic. Actually, I think it's 8-bit 422, but absolutely fantastic quality at 25 megabits. Even down at 7 megabits, you can play this stuff back full screen on a 42-inch plasma, and it still looks very, very good.
Micro P2 is the way forward for Panasonic, because they just have to realise that there is 2 markets there, and they've missed for a lot. The first time they've actually caught the market was with the AF101.
Yeah.
That was the first camera that Panasonic actually came in, and Sony suddenly thought, oh my God, what has happened here? Because everybody wanted a 101.
I remember.
And, you know, we were
right.
there.
Yeah.
You bought the lens for me.
I did, the Voigtlander. Yes, my lovely 25. I still consider that lens mine, although officially it's got property of Holden written on it. And now I'm using it, of course, on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. So the lens is still getting well used.
I've gone full circle. I had I had one of the first AF101s.
Right.
I loved it for what it was, but I soon grew to a stage where it was just not giving me what I needed.
Right.
And then I moved on to C300.
Right.
And
Is that because of a larger sensor? What?
Well, not really. It's just because my Canon, it just works. You put your Canon glass on, you can see what your f-stops are. With the 101 and you're using a Nikon lens or a Canon lens, you don't know where you are unless you buy, say, an MTF adapter, which gives you your.
Tells you what
it's all add-ons. It's the Christmas tree effect.
It's true. Yes, I know.
And that's what people don't realise. That companies have got to appreciate that we don't all want to buy a camera and then add mechano sets to them.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you do that, sometimes you lose the functionality of what you're actually trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in a production with the BBC, watching the guy with be it a Sony 750, but you know, and you say to yourself, this guy did a day to set up all his Christmas tree before he actually could use the camera. You know, and you think, what is this all about? You know, you're producing a drama, and it's like, you know, it's everything's. It just seemed overly complicated.
Yes.
But just as a for instance, now I'll pop this up here because I've been told the guys can get a wee shot of it. But I mean, there's another. Although it's not a Panasonic broadcast, it is a Panasonic camera.
Yeah,
and it's
GH3.
micro Four Thirds.
And it's a lovely lens you've got on it, the 12-35.
Yeah, f2.8.
That's a brilliant fit on the Blackmagic Pocket pocket camera as well. It's perfect because that's got a 3 times crop factor.
Yes.
So it becomes sort of 36 to 100 mil.
Yeah.
It gives it a really useful zoom range. And it's got a great optical image stabilizer.
Is it not a 2 times conversion for the Blackmagic?
No, it's
it
3 times on the Pocket. The Pocket's got a slightly smaller sensor. It's 2.3 times on the 2.5K cinema camera.
Does anybody make a lens that allows you a wide angle in the Pocket? Does anybody make a lens wide enough for the Pocket camera?
Well, 11 mil's going to be pretty wide. There's a 7 to 14 mil Lumix lens.
All right.
So 7 mil, that makes it a 21. So that's pretty wide.
Oh, that's okay. That's the one that's just over £1,000.
That's
right. I had that one.
Oh right. It's very sharp actually, but no wide apertures. So
when I had the 101, I had the 7 to 14 and the 14 to 140. Now they didn't do these. This new lens, the X, is.
No, I'm quite jealous. I definitely want one of these. I want to try it.
That is. I have enjoyed using that. Now this is the first camera I have ever used as a professional DSLR.
Yeah. And
I've got to say I have been bowled over with the quality.
Well, I mean, saying that, I've got a Canon 60D at home, and it's wonderful for stills, but I find it a nightmare to shoot video on. I just don't bother. I'd rather take almost any video camera on the market for the last 5 years to shoot video on. I know I'll get better results than with a DSLR. So what makes you think, what's changed?
Well, just the functionality. The fact that I've got a headphone output for a start.
Yeah.
The fact that this is actually I'll take the squirrel tail off. Maybe not. What have I done? Hold the brush. Tell you what, if I just put that down here, and I'll try and get the squirrel tail off. There we go. So what you've got here is you've got this can either be a gun mic.
What's a Panasonic mic?
Yes, it's Panasonic's own make, or it can be a stereo mic.
Yeah.
Now the beauty of this is it's powered by the camera.
Yeah.
Now that was the one problem I had with any of these add-ons to a DSLR was the sound. But see when you add that on, now even although I've got that on, I've still got to use a Tascam D60 if I'm to get.
What's that? Is that SQN mixer or something similar?
It's just a small mic, but it would actually screw onto the bottom of the camera.
But no XLR, obviously, no XLR.
No, not in this. But to be honest, I'm using the an external source. Then.
But what about aliasing? Have you tried shooting, in a normal urban environment where you get straight lines everywhere? Because it is subsampling the chip, so presumably there'll be a degree of aliasing. It's just doing a line skip.
You've got to remember, I'm just using it for
interviews and
for bits. See, for what I'm doing in here, which is just getting stuff from a blog and some sort of like some stuff of these guys at some point tomorrow.
Yeah.
This will be
But I mean, I am serious. I would not use a DSLR for video. I
wouldn't use it for a corporate job. Let's put it that way. I'd use my C300.
But for popping around and doing a bit of shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fine for pocket, but now of course you can have a Blackmagic Pocket camera. Takes the same lenses.
Here's the twist of the tail. Dan Chung was out there just before and he always used a 5D Mark II.
Right.
And now he's using a D700.
Does he take stills?
He is a still photographer. Yes,
there you go. They're great for stills.
But and I'm now going about with this. And last year I would have had it, or 2 years ago, I would have a video camera. So It just shows you how everybody
I know.
swaps.
It is interesting, you're right. I must admit, when I used an AF101 for the first time, I started really appreciating and enjoying shallow depth of field, but recently I've started realizing that I don't want every shot to be shallow depth of field.
Yes.
And that's the trouble with larger sensors like this. You know, in low light situations, you're almost forced to go down the shallow depth of field look. What if you want everything to be in focus?
If you're doing an interview, the last thing you want is f2.8 or above, because what happens is, if the person, as they do, moves about, they're moving about within your focus field.
That's right.
And as we both know,
the eyes come in and out of focus.
That's right. It just looks dreadful.
Yeah.
So if I was doing an interview with that, I would have it to f4, 5, 6, and that way I know I'm giving myself enough space, enough breathing space, as you call it.
I mean, also, the optical image stabilizations on new smaller cameras. There's the AC8 from Panasonic is over on their stand. It's a little shoulder mount camera. I say little shoulder mount, but it is quite diminutive. You'll just have to go and have a look at it. And this camera is going to be around £1,000, and it's got an optical image stabilization system, which is absolutely remarkable. You can almost use it at full telephoto, and I think it's about a 12 times zoom on it, full telephoto, and keep it steady on your shoulder. And this is £1,000 camera.
Well, here's a story. When I was doing the LEDCO, of course, I was told it would be useful to use a Panasonic camera, so they sent me an AC90, which I still have. And while using it, one of my colleagues said, "Is there any chance I could have a wee play with it?" So I phoned the guys down south and I said, "A guy wants to use this at a musical theatre production. Is there any, just to see what it was like?" So he said, "Okay, I'll let him have it over the weekend." So he came back after the weekend, and I discovered he'd bought 2 AC90s and a 138, but what's the?
Oh yes, the 130. That's the bigger. That's the HBX 250 sensor. So
right.
a 1/3 inch or 3/3 inch chips.
So
22
he
times
sold
zoom.
his Sony kit for Panasonic.
Good. He saw the light.
This is a guy who has been Sony for many.
Can we move that out of the way now?
Many years. Sorry, and suddenly goes over to Panasonic. So
it is interesting. I think there's a naturalistic look, and I really believe this. I mean, obviously, I have to say this working for a distributor of Panasonic, but I really believe that Panasonic pictures are more naturalistic than any other manufacturer which I've ever tried the cameras of. And I like the naturalistic look. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
You can tweak Sony to make them like that, but out of the box, Panasonic just looks right to my eye.
Well, the one that comes out of the box perfect for me is JVC.
JVC, really?
Yeah.
Well,
every time.
These blue roses are lovely, aren't they?
No, honestly. When I was down at BV North, I get to play with a 600.
Yeah. And
my pictures went against, myself and I won't mention his name, we both did an interview. He used an EX3, I used the JVC, and not only were my pictures brighter, they were also more natural.
Right.
Now, that's just because I could have easily used a Panasonic camera, but obviously I wasn't I didn't I was doing work in brackets for doing a review of that camera at the time, so obviously I was best boy at that time. So
the JVC, it's interesting you mentioned that, because the 650 has got all the built-in Wi-Fi technology, and that is also built into the new 270 camera from Panasonic. So you'll have the ability to send low-resolution proxy files while you're shooting. And using our Intratec products, you'll be able to boost the Wi-Fi. In fact, you can use this with the JVC camera as well. So they have very weak Wi-Fi. They use little Wi-Fi dongles, so you can only have a very small area it will work to. But using one of our little Intratec boxes, about the size of a pack of cards. I'm always told not to say cigarette packet. About the size of a pack of cards, you're able to boost this so you can send the proxy files up to 250 meters. So you get this ability to work in quite a large area and just send the files wirelessly. So this will work with the new Panasonic 270 as well.
Because was it last year you showed me the new Teradek system?
And so this isn't actually using Teradek because they're starting to build some of this functionality into the cameras. However, with Teradek, the Teradek sort of story is marching on, and we've got some new Teradek stuff here. We're sort of second generation, like the Cube Pro, which I think we're probably best to have a detailed chat about tomorrow when we do the roundup then. But they're starting to build wireless into cameras now, like the 270 and the JVC 650. But what Teradek do is they've moved it on to the next level, the ability to record proxy files remotely, the ability to watch it live on an iPad without a delay, and things like this, which the camera manufacturers haven't caught up to. There's a lot of benefits from being 4 generations down the road.
Yes, that's right. And then the other thing is, to be fair, when I saw the Teradek stuff, I was blown away with the fact that you could film something and there was virtually no lag.
Have you seen the clip, the Teradek clip?
No.
Which they've got on this octocopter out just at the front of the stand. It's a matchbox size encoder,
right,
which can send a signal to an iPad, 50 meters, 60 meters to an iPad, and so it's terribly lightweight. It probably weighs about the same as a matchbox as well. So you can use this on even the smaller helicopters from GoPro cameras, or they've got it there connected to a Red Epic, I believe. So
don't fancy that falling on me.
No, that's going to hurt, isn't it? Yeah. But at least if the encoder fell on you, it wouldn't hurt in the slightest.
No.
You'd probably just wonder what it was.
So is this to just keep it about, just to keep it so that you can transmit to it, so it's
right,
a line of sight?
Yes, basically it means that you can fly the helicopter seeing live what the camera is producing. So they've also got some rather clever shades for iPads, so you can watch it with a couple of handles, so you can sort of fly the iPad. That's looks fantastic.
I must have a shade for my iPad that I can fly.
I think we've filled our time nicely.
All right,
so,
good.
So thanks. It's gone incredibly quickly. So
Yeah,
thanks
yeah.
very much for talking to me. I hope you come back tomorrow, because I'm absolutely terrified at the thought of doing all this on my own.
Well, I'll have more to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, have more of a chance to look round, and we'll talk about some of the other things we've seen. Thanks very much for joining me,
Yeah,
Philip.
not at all, yeah. Nice to see you again.
Look forward to seeing you at the same time tomorrow.
Yeah, no problems.
Thanks very much. I hope you've enjoyed our ramblings at least a little bit, and we'll be back for the 3:30 shift tomorrow with a roundup of what we've seen at IBC.